about. Hi, this is Carol Sill, and I'm here in Vancouver talking with Peter Fenner, who has come here to do a workshop this weekend. And Peter, maybe you could introduce yourself and some of the work you're doing with Radiant Mind.
Sure. Well, firstly, it is great to be here in Vancouver. It's the second time I've been here, but the first time I've run a fully fledged workshop that will be really giving people a taste of Radiant Mind. Radiant Mind is a course that I've developed that I run over 9 months. I was approached about 6 or 7 years ago by students of mine who'd done workshops and retreats who said, we really love these events, but it would be great to really dig into your non-dual approach over a longer period of time. So that's why I created a 9-month course. In Buddhism, you have two main traditions. You have what's sometimes called the Pali tradition or the Theravada tradition of southern Buddhism. Then you have the northern Buddhist traditions that grew up in North India, then went to China, Tibet, Japan, Korea. And they are all non-dual. The Mahayana traditions of Buddhism are non-dual, meaning that they are offering people ultimately a state of liberation in which we don't need to change the circumstances of our life in order to arrive at a place in which we're free, in which there really is nowhere further to go. We can't evolve more. So that's really the non-dual liberation.
And the approach that you're using is specifically Western to help people, is that?
Yes, I've taken my own history, goes back to a deep involvement in Tibetan Buddhism, both at a philosophical level and at a practical level, and I've adapted those teachings very consciously over the last 20 years. So for about 15 years, I really imbibed Tibetan non-dual teachings in their traditional form, and then 20 years ago got involved in a systematic adaptation. So now I've moved a long way from the traditional forms. So what I'm offering is very accessible, and I don't use a lot of Buddhist terminology. It's possible for people to participate in what I've created without even knowing that it comes from Buddhist sources. So I would say at least perhaps 60% of the people that do my work don't have any involvement with Buddhism. But then I have some students who have been involved in Buddhism for a long time, as long as me, 30, 35 years, who do my work and feel, it's really bringing to fruition what they've been looking for in more traditional approaches.
Wow. So would you describe it as a new school?
I would not at this point, but I feel that I'm giving enough structure in a way to what I'm developing. So it does, I feel, have the potential not to become a new school, but to become a contemporary modality, a contemporary mode through which Mahayana non-dual wisdom can be communicated and transmitted in a way that's relevant and easily accessible in the West.
Well, that's very beautiful. Now, when you're talking about being transmitted, what do you mean by that? Is there a chain of transmission as there has been in the past, or is it something else?
I see that what I'm doing, what Radiant Mind is offering, is a continuation of the contentless transmission that goes back to the time of the Buddha and that really began to come through strongly 2,000 years ago with the emergence of Mahayana in India, at least at a public level, in the public domain. So it's a continuation of what is called the Prajna Paramita, the perfection of wisdom tradition of Buddhism, which what happened is you had the one lineage, the one tradition, and it then developed in different ways. You then had the emergence of Zen Buddhism as one expression of Prajnaparamita, the Madhyamika, the middle path tradition, beginning in about the 2nd century of the Christian era, then Dzogchen and Mahamudra, and in a way I've taken what I feel are the most powerful and accessible methods from those traditions and also drawn on Western psychological insights, particularly group process work, and integrated those into a new modality. It's very simple. When I describe it like that, it can sound a little bit complex, but in reality, when we're doing the work, it is very simple, super minimalist, and I hope very effective.
So it's a direct participation when people are at your workshops or working within the Radiant Mind, would you say?
Yes, we are working in the here and now. In some way, I feel like I'm a delivery person. I'm just there to deliver, to open up the contentless transmission, to introduce people to pure awareness. So we have the contents of awareness that we're normally really involved in, what is happening at an emotional level, what we're thinking, what's happening in the world. And there's also the fact of pure awareness, and it's really easy to lose sight of that. Just to lose connection with the fact of that awareness is always present. And so what we're doing in Radiant Mind is expanding our awareness so that we're present not only to the content of what's happening in our life, but to the field, to the space of awareness within which everything is arising. And so then a natural detachment happens because we're connecting with awareness itself, and also life can become frictionless in a way because we're relating with ourselves as a clearing, as a space through which everything can arise and dissipate and change without any friction or tension.
Oh, sounds beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
If everything arises without friction and tension, that means there's a lot of work to be done eliminating the friction and tension, or what tools do you offer to help alleviate the natural condition that we all have that creates friction and tension?
Yeah. Well, one of the things is to appreciate that there is nothing that we need to do to be in the space that I'm describing. It is just an effortless way of being. And if we think there's something that we have to do in order to just be here, for example, in this really simple, effortless way, if we think there's something we need to do, that's one of the ways that we create friction and tension. We create obstacles. It's really easy to create obstacles to just being in the moment. Whereas if we look at it now, we don't have to do anything in order to be here. That my talking and your talking is effortless. It's an expression of our natural condition. There's no striving. We're not trying to get anywhere. See, it's possible for us now to be at the point where there's nowhere further that we need to go. We don't need to be anywhere else.